Hi my dear student, welcome to our English class. For today our topic is present perfect continuous or progressive, and our objective to analyze when you use present perfect continuous. Okay, let's start. Present perfect continuous we use the present perfect continuous to say that an event or situation began in the past and continue into the present. We often include the amount of time that the event or situation has existed with a for or since phrase. Okay, vamos a utilizar estas frasecitas for or since. Okay, let's start. In the case of affirmative, this is the structure. Subject, the auxiliary have or has according to the subject, and the verb be but in past participle, and the next verb with ing. ¿Okay? Por eso nos damos cuenta que es pasado, que es presente perfecto progresivo, porque tiene ing en el verbo, ¿okay? Y además ocupa los auxiliares has y have. ¿Okay? Eso es muy importante. Usted tiene que ser muy observador en esa parte. ¿Okay? Now, in negative is the same. ¿Okay? Pero ¿cuál es la diferencia? You have to change the verb have or has in negative. Hasn't or haven't. Okay, with contraction. Okay, let's start with this. They have been. Please continue with the reading. 2 hours, very good. They is subject. Have the auxiliary. Remember with I, you, they, and we, you have to use the auxiliary have. With the third person or he, she, and it, you have to use the auxiliary has. ¿Okay? De acuerdo al sujeto, nosotros ocupamos el auxiliar. Recuerde, para la tercera persona, he, she, and it, nosotros vamos a usar el auxiliar has. ¿Okay? Cuando hablamos one person. Very good. Now, change this sentence in negative. Cambiémosle a negativa. You have to change the auxiliary in negative. Haven't. They haven't been. Continue with the reading. Since 1996. Very good. Now, in this case, she has. In this case, you have to use she. For this reason, you have to use the auxiliary has and the verb be, but in past participle, being, working, the verb with ing, at the bank, since. Please read this. Leamos este numerito. Excellent. Don't forget the number, please. Now, this sentence, please change in negative. Cambiemos la hora negativa. ¿Cómo hacemos? Only remember you have to change the auxiliary in negative. Has the negative. Okay, continue with the sentence. Continue with the reading. Excellent, very good. The most important thing is el aspecto más importante en estas oraciones es que no tiene que confundirse el auxiliar, ¿ok? And in negative you have to only change the auxiliary in negative. But in question, what happened in question? You have to use the same auxiliary, ¿ok? Vamos a utilizar las mismas auxiliares. Now, please, in this case you can look this chart. For example, subject, I, you, he, Tom, the boy, she, Anna, the girl, we, you, they, the children. I, you have to use have. With I, have. With you, have. With the third person, he, she, and it, you have to use has. Con las terceras personas. O cuando hablamos de una, por ejemplo, Tom is a boy. Y si nosotros reemplazáramos con un pronombre sería he, que está dentro de la tercera persona. Ok, for example, Anna o the girl, podemos reemplazar con she. Very good. Porque Anna, mujer, and the girl, la mujer. and we, you, they, you have to use have, and the children, los niños, we are talking about a lot of people, you have to use have, okay? And then you have to use the verb been, have been, has been, okay? Remember, you have to use the auxiliary has or have and the verb and the verb being, okay, in past participle. And then the next verb you have to write with ing. El siguiente verbo vamos a escribirlo con ing. In this case, wait. With ing, waiting. Waiting, 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 waiting. Okay, the same. Okay, la única cosa que cambia, podemos verlo, por ejemplo, en el complemento o el rest of the sentence. For an hour, okay, is the same. Las cosas que cambian, subject, el sujeto y el auxiliar, okay, has or have. According to the subject, you have to write has or have. In this case, you have to only this part change, okay. Solo estas partes son las que cambian. De ahí vemos que la estructura es la misma, ok. Tratemos de no confundirnos, mis queridos niños. Ok, for example, if I say, por ejemplo, si yo digo my house, ¿qué usamos? Have or has? Has, very good, because it's one thing. And for example, if I say my mother and my brother, you have to use have. Very good. If I say my sister, you have to use with my sister has. Very good. Y si a veces no sabemos con cuál, si va con has or have, en el nombre, por ejemplo, Tom, reemplacémosle con el pronombre Tom, he. Y with the third person, he, she, and it, you have to use has. Le reemplazamos, entonces ya sabemos que con ese ocupamos has. Excellent. Or have, according to the subject, remember. This is so important. Now, in questions, in WH question or with a yes-no question, you have to write, in this case, cuando usamos la WH question, va primero la WH question, and then the auxiliary has or have, después el sujeto, past participle, verb being, and the verb with ing, and don't forget the question mark, okay? For example, read the sentence, please. Leamos la primera oración. They 2 hours, very good. Now, in question, you have to change the auxiliary in the first part and the subject in the second part. Tenemos que escribir el sujeto en la segunda parte y el auxiliar en la primera. Okay, you have to change the position. Tenemos que cambiar las posiciones. For example, in this case, have they been? Continue with the question. Very good. And the final, the question mark. Excellent. Don't forget that. In this case, you have to use have. Let's start with the next. She has been working at the bank since 2003. Okay, now, if I want to change in question, you have to change the order or the position of the subject and the auxiliary. In this case, she, you have to write in the second part, and has, you have to write in the first part. For example, has she being the verb be in past participle and the verb work with ing, working, okay? At the band since 2003 and the question mark in the final, okay? Don't forget that. Recuerde, cuando nosotros tenemos una pregunta, el auxiliar va en la primera parte y el sujeto en la siguiente. But in WH question, ¿qué pasa con las WH question? In the case of the WH question, you have to use WH question in the first part. Then you have to write the auxiliary has or have, the subject I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, okay, and the verb being in past participle, the verb with ing, and the rest of the sentence or complement, okay, and don't forget the question mark in the final. For example, what, have, because with I, you, we, and they, you have to use the auxiliary have, okay, and you have to write the verb be, being, and because in past participle, being, and the verb with ing, el verbo con ing. In this case, do with ing, doing, okay, and the rest of the sentence. Lately, okay, and the question mark. And in this case, you have to write the same in the first part, the WH question. Then you have to write the auxiliary. In this case, has. Why? Because with he, she, and it, with the third person, you have to use has. Okay, recuerde, con la tercera persona, he, she, and it, you have to use the auxiliary has. And then you have to write the verb being. Okay, in past participle is the past participle of the verb be, being, and you have to write the verb with ing, copying. Documents all the day is the rest of the sentence or complement, el resto de la oración o el complemento. And don't forget the question mark. Very good. Si usted no escribe la question mark, su pregunta está mal. Y recuerde, en inglés, you have to use only one question mark. Solo usamos un signo de pregunta al final de la pregunta. Okay? This is the structure with question with WH question in present perfect continuous. Recuerde, ¿cómo podemos reconocer el present perfect continuous? Porque primero usamos los auxiliares have or has and the verb with ing y el verbo con ing. Entonces ahí sabemos que estamos hablando del present perfect continuous or present perfect progressive. Okay, my dear student, this is all for our class. Bye bye.